Okay. Hello. Just waiting for people to come in. Can you hear me, Kate? Pascal, Jochen, Monica. Great. Moni. One chat already. Good.
If everyone could just flash their videos on just to give a little wave so we can put a name to the face, that'd be really nice if you're comfortable with that.
Thanks, Kate. That's great. Lovely to see you all coming. Holly. Right. Well, we're just waiting. There was a lot of people signed up. We'll just see how many actually come. Yeah, we've had quite a storm here. Okay, now while we're just waiting, I'm just giving a little give a little bit more time for people to come. It's always difficult at this time of night for people to get here in time. But what I'd like to suggest is that you have a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen near you for the inner work that we're going to do to start with. So I'm still waiting, but and then I'll do the introductions and we'll get underway. But a pencil or a journal or a color pencils, even if you've got them, because I will ask you in the exercise just to do a couple of little quick sketches, energy sketches. I'll put something. Okay. How many have we got here now? 18 and 3, 4 of them are us. Okay, so let me start by introducing, first of all, I'll say I'm Christina Nielsen, the founder of the Metavision Institute, and we have here Katrina Dixon, our academic head. Can you give a wave? Thanks. And we've got Kate Ibrahim, our admin person, who you deal with first when you're making inquiries and showing interest in Metavision. And then we also have Beck Simmons here, who is our placement officer. She's here to answer any questions, should you have any questions later. So the plan for tonight is that we start with an inner work exercise to give you a little taste of what is an important part of what we do at Metavision. And I'll take you through that exercise. And then after that, we'll introduce Metavision, and Katrina and I will talk a little bit about Metavision and the courses we offer here, and then we can open up for questions. We've got a graduate coming in as well later who could speak briefly about his experiences of doing the course and some of the things he's done afterwards. So if you've got questions and you feel that, well, if you've got questions, put them in the chat, because I think it's great to have them in the chat. And then you can also, as we get going and open up for questions, you can put your hand up and we'll come to you. So, great. And Kate, you'll be able to put up the little PowerPoint when we come to start to talk about Metavision.
Yep, absolutely.
Good. Thank you. Great. So here we are gathering together. And the exercise I want to bring is finding your presence. How do we find our presence? Now, I choose this because if you're interested in counseling and psychotherapy, or working with people, or even just wanting to get to know more about yourself, actually, the part that people see of you that you often don't recognize or know so well is your presence. The part that is really important in engaging with other people is who you are, which in its expression, we could call your unique presence. And when you're working with somebody, that's what you're meeting, even though people don't know it. And one of the things that we take care in cultivating at Metavision here is awareness of ourselves, and also a sense of the other as a whole human being in all parts of ourselves. So I thought this might be a good little taster for something of Metavision. So what I'd like to ask you to do is, people will keep coming in and out, I'm sure, and you're letting them in, Kate, are you? Oh, there's nobody else coming in yet? Yeah. Okay. It is just to take a moment and to go in. Just go into yourself. And in doing so, just take some deep breaths in and out, exhaling. And as you do, start to turn your attention to what you notice that's active inside you. What's going on inside? Keep taking breaths, and as you breathe out, let your energy sink. And notice where there are tensions in your body. Notice movements, trails of the recent activities that have gone on, that you've been active in before you got to this point. What's going on? How are they still in your body? Notice where something might be tense or moving or excited or still. Just take your time with that attention. We often don't give ourselves time to be present to ourselves. This is an opportunity. Another deep breath in and out at your own pace. Let the out breath be long. And now see if you can tune into the deepest part of yourself. Scan your body and find where that might be, the deepest part of yourself. It's an interesting notion. Where's the deepest part of me, I wonder? Can I notice it? Can I find it? I notice as I start doing this and had a little bit of difficulty getting in, I got into the Zoom. I got a little agitated, a little disturbed. To find the deepest part of myself, I need to go beyond that. Take your time. Sense into it. Now breathe into this place. Let the breathing into that spot in you, bring out the qualities of that place, the deepest part of yourself. And now just imagine that that deepest part of yourself can move you. How would it move you? How does it move you? Sometimes you can feel it as a pull, something that pulls you towards something, moving you. And allow yourself to feel moved by this part. And you might, if you want to get up and allow it to move you, do so. Just a small gesture. And breathe again deeply into that place, that deepest part of yourself. Get to know it a bit. Feel its qualities. Now, take a pen or piece of paper and a pencil or something and do a quick sketch of that energy, the energy in that deepest part of yourself. We call it an energy sketch. Just allow yourself to feel you've been moved, you contacted this deepest part of yourself, and just do a very quick, don't think about it, a quick energy sketch. Of this part of your body. Sometimes you can do that out in nature and do it on the ground and just get that quick energy sketch. Whatever comes for you is right. Ask yourself now, is there anything about this energy or the gesture of the sketch that you or others identify you with? It's a hard question. Think about people, they make comments about you, they get a feel for you. Is there something in that energy sketch, whatever it is, that people could identify you with or you could identify yourself with? What atmosphere does this place within you have? Is it cloudy? Is it clear? Is it vibrant? Is it still? Has it got a color? Allow it to speak to you, this part of yourself. What kind of presence does this spot and its expression generate? What sort of presence? Explore this presence. What does it look like, feel like, sound like, move like? Take your time. Feel it. This is your presence. Now, think of a place in nature that you might love, that draws you, that may have a similar atmosphere and quality to this, your energy, your presence. And go to the first place that comes to mind. You know, it's interesting for myself here when I do this exercise every now and again, and I was thinking, where in nature do I feel really sort of drawn to? And I suddenly realized it's my own back deck amongst the garden. I've got a garden here. Just think of a place in nature that calls you, that comes first to mind. We can call this an earth spot, a spot on the earth that has a connection in its energy, in its atmosphere, in its way of being, that's like your presence. So live into this earth spot. What power, what presence does this spot have? This spot in nature, what sort of presence and energy does it have? Is it quiet? Is it loud? Is it dark? Is it sheltered? Is it open? Is it vast? Enclosed? Deep? High? Notice what you notice about it. Now make another drawing of this earth spot, a similar sort of quick energy sketch of the earth spot that you have identified, this place that feels that it calls you in some way. And, you know, you're not trying to draw the whole thing. At some time later, you might like to. But now is just a gesture of something that expresses the energy of that earth spot. When you've won't go fast, go slowly, take your time, live into it. And then bring the feeling of your own deepest part of yourself and this earth spot together. And notice if when you bring that deepest part of yourself to this place on earth that feels you have a resonance with, that somehow connects to your presence with its presence. Do you get any sort of sense of feeling at home or belonging there? Just check in with yourself. And if you don't, you don't. But try it. See how it goes. Let yourself be in that space for a moment. And now, think back to how you were when we first came together and sat down here in your everyday normal self, your daily life, your normal self. Could you do a quick energy sketch of that? What's that like? And then look at all three drawings. You've got them there, if you've done them. Or look at them in your mind's eye, if you haven't. And then quickly, is it possible to put them all together? That's a challenge. Put them all together somehow. And see what arises. I'm surprised. I've just done it while I'm talking to you. And yeah, I'm surprised. So the combination of the three of them is your presence. Now, this exercise has been inspired by the work of Arnold Mindell, who developed process-oriented psychology that we draw heavily on in the Metavision approach to counseling and psychotherapy. And Arnie says of this, he says, the quality of your presence organizes your whole life, even the spaces and the atmosphere of your own personal bedroom, your own personal space around you. Just think of your bedroom or a room in your house that you love, or a spot in your house that you love, and see if it's got a similar sort of energy. And to think that this presence that's deep inside you is organizing you. So does anybody have any comments or thoughts or experience from doing that exercise, or got a question or anything? It's hard on Zoom. It's nice in a classroom, but it's hard on Zoom. But if you can, I could show you mine, but I don't know that they'll show up for me. Pascal, I guess there would be plenty of, questions. Yeah, okay. Have you got one, Pascal?
Hello, Christina.
Hello.
Yeah, I did the three drawings. Hello, hello. And
You did.
look, trying to put them together is probably interesting. Like I wouldn't know
Yes.
really, but yeah. Otherwise, yeah, no, I couldn't put them together.
No,
Truly.
no, that's fine.
Otherwise, yeah, it's interesting.
And you don't need to put them together. I mean, you can hold that as a question. How would they fit together, and what would it be like? You know, we've done this fairly quickly, and sometimes it's good to do them quickly because you can't think too much about it. But then it's also good to come back to it and ponder it and allow allow the deepest part of yourself to move you around it. And with the question, how do these go together? Good, but that's a great question. Yes, I see a hand up here. Hang on, Anthea.
Hi, yeah, hi. So with this exercise, obviously we've really sort of connected in with ourselves in this moment. Would you say that your presence changes, or do you think that there's like a fundamental sort of signature that we carry?
Yes, both. There's a deep fundamental signature that we carry, and of course it has its expressions differently at different levels of our awareness and what's going on. You know, the everyday life when you're going about things, and this deepest part of yourself probably have a different expression, but yet they're connected.
Oh, and the other question was, is it Arnie Mendel or
Arnold Mindell.
Okay.
Arnold Mindell. Yeah, Holly, your connection's dropping out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Storms everywhere. And Moni, you've got a question or a comment.
Yeah, because I have been doing lots of subconscious work for a long time, and I've noticed the same signature. Doesn't matter how deep I go into the subconscious, it doesn't go away, and it just stays with me. Doesn't matter how much work I do, and it's almost impossible to change it.
Very good.
How is it possible to change the signature if it's like something very deep and negative?
Is it negative? Then I'd be looking at it. Maybe I'd look at it carefully, because usually if it's negative, there's something in there. I mean, it's not going to be only negative, because there's something in there that's uniquely you. Yeah, go on.
It is pretty negative. It is just something that follows me around, and I see it reflecting in other people's reactions to me, because they see it, and I see it like it follows me around where I go.
Or you follow it round. Yeah.
What do you mean? How can I
Well,
change it?
you know, it's also perhaps moving you as well. But when you say negative, could you say more about that?
Well, I'm an immigrant and I've been bullied a lot. So I developed a belief that I don't belong in Australia and that everyone hates me. And it's really hard sometimes for me to believe that I am accepted by people. I just subconsciously assume that everyone doesn't like me because I'm an immigrant.
Wow.
And that I don't belong here. Nobody likes me. I need to get out of here. I need to move out. I am an evil person. I will be prosecuted.
You'll be persecuted.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fear in there, and bad experiences that you've had through being bullied. I'm very sorry to hear that, and apologize on the part of my fellow Australians that would happen to you. And beyond that, that's only the outer part. Beyond that, there's something deeper. It keeps moving you. And that would, you know, I don't want to go further here, but thank you so much for sharing it. That's to be able to work with that and get beyond it to the deepest part of you, the essence of you, and your presence would take a bit, but it's there, I can assure you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Did you want to say something, Monica?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to work out all my things. So can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you.
Oh, awesome. I just wanted to say how my my sketch has had the same theme, but when you said to go back to the interview that we first brought in, to where we first sat down, that was like a lot more scattered than the one that I actually did when we took some deeper breaths and like looked inside. So it was just nice to know, that it's within that same theme.
Yeah. That's right. Same for me. That was busy my day, and and then as I went in, suddenly it became like a fear of 8. And then when I went into nature, it was sort of this open, expansive, calm space. And then when I put it all together, it was very, very interesting. I could try and show you the little sketch I did, but I don't know if you'd be able to see it. It's right there, that one. It's this figure of 8, but with something around it and then activity on either side. Just came together. Very surprising. I didn't expect that. Thank you very much for sharing, Monica. Yeah. Anyone else?
I was just going to contribute that I found when I was drawing, I was sort of drawing first, and then the thoughts were coming into my mind. I was like, yeah, that makes sense, rather than my mind sort of thinking of answers to my presence and then drawing, which I felt was interesting.
Very good. I think I understood what you said, that you let something move you rather than thought it out first. Is that what you're saying?
I was drawing a lot, there was a lot of circular movement, and then things like balance would pop into my mind. I'm like, yeah, that fits, that feels right, and then a different line would come, and I'd be like, oh, reaching, or fragments, or words would come in after drawing that sat quite well in each of the 3. So it was an interesting task.
Thank you. And were you able to put it together?
When it came together, it did feel right. I was surprised that the first one and the second one were very similar, but the one of how I was when I first came in, similar to you, very scattered. But then that kind of fits with the 3, like on the fringe, the everyday feeling, but it might not be the deeper part of the picture.
Yeah, that's great. And that's what you can tap into. And you can use the earth spot to return to whenever you feel you're needing to get in touch with the deeper part of yourself. Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing that. There's a question in the chat that we use things such as visual arts, music, body movement. We do all that. We do those sorts of things in service of this sort of work. We use drawing as an expression. It's a great way, or movement is a channel of awareness that is not usually occupied so well or engaged with in regular talking therapy, but actually it can be very powerful to take things deep. So we do use all those sorts of things depending on the circumstance, the person, what's happening. And as students, we learn to use those along the way by trying them for ourselves, just as we've done this tiny little taste. Thanks for your question. Any other comments or thoughts or questions? Okay, so I think we should now move on. And Kate, could you please keep putting questions up. Yeah, Pascal, so are they parts of the intensive days? Yes, they are. Yeah. So let's begin at the top. The Metavision Institute, top. Okay. So the Metavision Institute has been going for 20 years now. It began in 2004, the first class started, and it began because there were students who said to me, why don't you teach? I didn't think of teaching or starting a school. And I thought, well, what do I do how do I do that? And I thought, well, I'll just have to draw together all the things I've studied and use in my own clinic and know works. So that's how the course began and how the curriculum began. And the curriculum has evolved and developed, but it's much the same. And it's gone through all these different phases of accreditation. We were accredited with PACFA in 2011. We're now accredited with TEXA as a higher education institute. And it's exciting to have that sort of stamp of approval. It's a unique course based on holistic education methods. And we have these sort of retreat style intensive workshops at the start of each semester to create a rich learning environment where we always do some inner work, and we have the opportunity to work with movement or drawing or whatever is good for you. A lot of people, we encourage journaling, people write poems, all sorts of things. So we also really encourage a good peer learning collaboration and work to create a crucible. I call it a crucible for learning. It's where we can come together in a safe space and find that things work or don't, you know, we can make mistakes and know that it's not about what's right or wrong. It's about what is and what's wanting to become and what can we learn from this. And so what is Metavision? It's a view, Metavision. It's a view from above, from around, from below, all around. And it's a holistic way of perceiving where we see that the sum of the parts is more than, the whole is more than the sum of the parts. And Katrina is saying, yeah, we have 3 intensives a year. So what do we mean by holistic? Can you, yeah. One of the things that really struck me was this quote from David Bohm. He's a physicist and philosopher he wrote what is it? Just gone blank. The something in the implicate order. Always. Anyway, he said, and this was in the 80s, and he said, fragmentation is now very widespread, not only throughout society, but also in each individual. And it is leading to a kind of general confusion of mind, which creates an endless series of problems and interferes with our clarity of perception, excuse me, so seriously as to prevent us from being able to solve most of them. Oh, here we go. Wholeness in the Implicate Order, Man's Search for Meaning by David Bohm. Yeah. So, excuse me. Thank you. A theoretical physicist. Yeah, okay. So what's become apparent in these times, we're in a time of great change, and there's a huge, it seems, a sort of soul hunger. People are looking for soulful things. What are soulful things? Soulful things are things that nourish our feeling life, our well-being, like doing art, creative things, being in nature. You know, nature's becoming well recognized as being a soothing for our soul. And also that people are looking for meaning. They're looking for purpose and direction. That's expressing a spiritual thirst that is quite prevalent in our world today. And so in our approach, we use, I mean, what I've drawn on is my study of process-oriented psychology, which is the work of Arnold Mindell and Associates. I've studied Chinese medicine and Steiner's spiritual science, and some of the new sciences to some degree, and whatever else is important for these times. So we have over the time developed a Metavision model, and this is a way of expressing it. And it's that there is an organizing principle, like that part of ourselves, the deep part of ourselves that moves us. There is in everything. And if we can work to find it and work with it, then things flow much more easily. And so the Metavision approach and a process-oriented approach can lead to all sorts of things, as you can see in this slide here, and there are a lot of different influences on it. Next one. So one of the principles of this approach is that there's an awareness continuum. This is what Anna Mindell did as well, was take the sense that had come from Freud more, but that our consciousness, we have our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, our unconscious as a sort of horizontal, vertical axis. But actually, if you put our consciousness or awareness on a continuum, then it moves backwards and forwards from the past to the future, up and down as well. And we're looking at that always in a process of that things are in a process of becoming. They're emerging. And what we're learning here is how to read the signals for what's wanting to emerge and take us forward in a movement towards something. What it is not important, it's that movement. Next one. So the educators are all highly experienced in their unique skill and area of expertise and bring a diversity of experience into the classroom. And together we've built a team at the Metavision Institute that keeps building and growing and changing and staying constant as well. And they've everyone who's working at Metavision has some sort of relationship with aspects of Metavision in their own way. Next one. Thanks, Kate. So we've got some figures here that we have we have a very good success rate, actually. The graduates, 74% are working as holistic counsellors or therapists in some form or other. And a number of them have gone directly into client work in their own practices and so forth. 26% see over 10 clients per week. 64% of students live and work outside the major metropolitan areas because of the way we do the courses. You come for the intensive blocks and then take the work home, go connected with your study buddies and have tutorials and connection with us in between attendance at the intensives. And so it suits people from all sorts of places. And we've had reports from 90% of our graduates that the experiential learning environment is very important for them. Yep. So these are the, is there a slide before this, Kate? No, that's the next one. Okay. Trini, would you like to take over, or shall I? These are the fees. They're on the, we need to talk about the courses. I can't see Katrina. Anyway, you can see the fees are there. We have a specialist, we have a graduate diploma, that's a 1-year program. We have a 2-year master's program. We have and these are accredited, recognised government accredited courses, which are recognised all over Australia and internationally. We have a specialist training program, which is very much the same, very much covers the same territory, but is for people who don't need an extra qualification or don't want to have an accreditation with an industry body like PAGFA or somewhere, but who may already have those, but want to learn a new and holistic approach and engage in the whole personal development program that we have here. These are the accreditations. Yep. And Trini, you here? Do you want to talk about this?
Oh, yes, I'm here, Christina.
Okay, great. I can see you.
Yeah.
You talk
Yes. So can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, so we've got several intensives a year. So 3 intensives a year, and they vary in their length. We ask that everyone comes to the first intensive. We call that mandatory because that's where you make really potentially strong connections with your cohort and with the staff. And then at the first intensive of the year, students tend to build a relatively small circle of people who they call their study buddies, who then you meet with them throughout the 2 years, and you potentially do assignments with them and maintain a sense of connection and support with that smaller group. I was going to also, and I'm not sure if this is a slide or not, just cover the sorts of subjects that we do. So we start with a subject called the holistic human being, and that's really an understanding that we're not just physical bodies, where it's the connection of mind, body, spirit, and also the fact that we live in a system, or what we refer to as a field, and there's an energetic field that we're within. We then move on to various different courses. There's 8 if you're doing it full time. There's 8 units per year. There's a few on what we call inner work, and you had an example from Christina at the beginning. The focus on inner work is that it helps you get to know yourself, and therefore be able to be much more present with a client when you're working with a client. And the other reason we do it is that there's numerous exercises that are introduced that if you can do them with yourself, you can then also bring them into a session with your client. So these are tools that you can use. So that's always the model. Apply to you first, and then apply to your client when it's appropriate. We also have units on ethics, attachment theory, or parts of units on attachment theory, trauma, addictions, grief,
Biography.
So biography and life myths. So looking at how the human develops over a lifespan, which you can tend to think is that you're very individual, but it's very interesting when you look at the life phases and you reflect on your own life and those potentially of clients or someone you might work with a study buddy. We see the similarities in how humans develop, and also identify mirroring that happens. So what can happen in a certain 7 years earlier in your life is then often mirrored later on in your life. And you can then, if you're working with a client, look at potentially what's going on now and then reflect back and say, so did something happen when you were, say, 14? And often there's a mirroring effect. There's also you need to also have your own therapy, which is really beneficial, because it then helps you with any issues that may arise, because this is not just hard work mentally and physically, it's actually can be very hard emotional work as well. So it's really helpful to have a therapist that you can go to for that. And the other benefit is that you can then see how that therapist applies their work, and then invariably then you can practice that yourself when you're working as a therapist. So you'll also need to start doing your own practice as a therapist. The other thing that you need to do is placement and supervision, and I'm not sure if Beck's here and whether Beck wants to jump in about placement.
That'd be great. Beck, are you here? Maybe we could take the slides away
I'm
now.
here. I can.
Kate, can you take the slides away and we'll, yeah, there we go. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I support the students with placement. And if you enroll in the graduate diploma and only intend to do that, as well as our specialist training, what that would mean if you were studying full-time is that you would start a placement that would be a total of 100 hours over the first year. And of that needs to be 15 hours where you're actually with clients face-to-face. If you continue on into the second year in the specialist training or in the second year and you're doing the masters, it then is total of, well, you have another 100 to do in the second year, which means a total of 200 over the 2 years. And in that second year, you would then complete the remainder included in that 100 of client hours. And those client hours are a total of 40 over the 2 years. So you've done 15 in the first year, and then you do the remainder in the second year, which, if my maths is correct, I think that's 25. Is it 25, 30? Yes. So the way placement works is we really encourage you to find and seek out your own placement in your own community where you can be doing something that really inspires you. You might have a particular idea that you want to work with addiction or trauma, or it might be, I want to work in a relationship organisation like a Relationships Australia. We do have some organisations on our books that support us. It's a very competitive market with lots of other courses out there. So we do have some organisations that we partner with that we can tell you about. And if it's a right fit and for both people, for the organisation and for yourself, you would then commence your placement. So it's a really valuable time in terms of actually getting those hours. And if you're already practicing right now, you build on that with different experiences in different organisations. So that's a general overview of placement, but super valuable in terms of making sure that you are actually getting experience. And then the second part of that is obviously that's a requirement of our pack for accreditation for our master's program. So they're definitely things that you will have to complete. I can take questions on this at the end, but that's the general overview. Thanks.
Thanks, Beck. Yeah. So does anyone have any questions at the moment that we haven't fully answered? Yes. Sorry, Meg, do you want to say question?
Yeah, it hasn't been mentioned yet, but I did receive an email of part-time being an option and it's going to be offered. And I just had a couple of questions around getting a sense of what a full-time load would look like commitment-wise during the week as opposed to part-time, and whether there's an option of potentially doing part-time over one of the years, so doing first year part-time over 2 years and the second year changing to full-time.
Yes, both those are possible. We the work one of the things I'd like to mention too is that we do work experientially. So as you're learning about how to unfold the message in a body symptom, for example, or how to unfold what a dream is saying to you, or something else in a similar manner, you work with each other. You have an experience of being worked on. You have an experience of discovering for yourself what it's like to work in that way. And so a part of the study time is working with your study buddies to do the full-time course. It does require quite a bit of focus, and there is quite a lot of work in it. We have our assessments, of course, that need to be done throughout to ensure that you're getting across the material. But there are most people are working at the same time, and it depends. Some people have full-time jobs, it is possible. It's a full load, but it's possible. Then in the part-time option, it's in half. You know, you've got, instead of 4 units, as Trini said, we've only got 2. So it's a lesser load. Yeah. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, I think it's just getting my head around previous courses that I've done. You know, it sounds like there's a lot more experiential focus rather than, you know, assignments and exams, and just trying to get my head around whether 4 units a semester is achievable in my situation. So just, yeah.
Yeah. The first semester is more laying a foundation. As Trini said, we start with the history and then the influences on the Metavision approach and the Metavision approach itself, and then you know, an introduction to inner work and the holistic. And then we introduce process-oriented psychology, and you start to learn about that. So it is more in that first semester. We're trying to change it to make the assignments also experiential where we can, but it is a little bit more theoretical and philosophical in that first semester, and then after that it's becomes more and more applied as you go along. As we start to learn the process work, we do a mental health unit. You're doing your placement in the second semester. Then in the next year, you know, it's biography and attachment and trauma, addictions, grief, research, 2 units of research, you know, all those. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can do first year and then take the second year part-time too, you know, then take the second year part-time. Either way.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
So there's a couple more hands up here. Pascal?
Thank you. I just want to know, in terms of the a typical week. So you mentioned intensives and then tutorial classes. So how much guided attendance is there in a typical week?
Trini, do you want to answer that one?
Yes, so we have the intensives where you're working with, there's ordinarily a teacher there, so there could be presentations, or it could be some sort of guided work, or you could be working with each other. And then there are no, I mean, sometimes there's lectures, but that we call them between the intensives, so we call them tutorials. So you may have a presentation, or it may be more like a sort of a check-in. So it really depends on the unit, and it really depends on the week. So it's not like other universities or other institutions where you have a regular Wednesday morning lecture. It's really dependent on what particular unit it is that you're doing and the scheduling. So there is a requirement to be somewhat flexible, because those tutorials are scheduled often on, you know, what suits the particular teacher, but also the students. So often they might be on a Saturday morning, or they may be on a morning midweek, but they're always recorded. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but it's not like there's a regular session every week or every fortnight.
And it's
I was trying to work out what sort of rhythm there would be, because we all have different circumstances, I guess. Like I travel once or twice a year to France to care for my parents. I'm involved in the community, so Saturday morning I might be playing music, you know, whatever. We've got rehearsals. So I'm just trying to get a feel for the commitments.
one of the things we try to do is work out with the class, the particular cohort or group, what's the best times, and some suit some people more than others, and so it can move around a little bit according to need, but it's always recorded. You don't have to attend it in person. Of course, it's better, but you don't have to at all. So if you've got something on that you need to do, you do it. it's like that. Yeah.
And my other question is, if you do the graduate, I'm interested in the master's, but if you do the graduate diploma, can you move into the master's, or it's?
It's a nested program. So the graduate diploma is the first year of the master's.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah. Okay. Monica, you've had your hand up.
I'm coming. I got fat fingers. I just wanted to say, when the list of the different programs came up, like the master's at the top, and then the next one that was at 12 months, and then the one under that was at 2 years again. Like, what's the differences like between each of the programs?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the graduate diploma is the first year of the master's. The course that we offer, our holistic counselling course, is the first year. Our counselling and psychotherapy course, holistic practice, is actually the title that it has for the master's program, is a 2-year program. But the first year of the graduate diploma, or the first year of the master's, is the same thing. So if you do the graduate diploma, then you can roll on into the master's. And the specialist training program is if you don't require all those qualifications, and it's a little bit more, it's more experiential, a little bit easier to do. It costs less because there's not all the accreditation, huge expenses that go with that. We're a small private organization, and in that, it means that we can also try and give you more attention and understanding and flexibility, which is what Trini was sort of saying just before, that, we do try and adapt to your needs, within reason, obviously. Yeah. That answer?
I think so. Thank you.
All right, please keep coming. There's some chats. Let's see. We don't have a mid-year intake, no. Roughly how many hours of study a week?
I've been replying to the chat, sorry, Christina, so you could.
Oh, you have?
Yes, I have. Yeah, that one was from past students. They've told us about 10 hours a week, roughly full-time, half that for part-time. But again, every unit is different and every student works at a different pace. So it's a hard one to answer.
Yeah. Okay.
If I could just add in that I think it's probably more than 10 hours. Yeah, by the time you read books, there's quite a few books, and there's the work on yourself as well. So this is a very unique course in that it's not just out there learning, it's not just the academic learning, it's learning about yourself as well. So it's very much a combination of academic, if you're doing the master's or the graduate diploma, plus soulfulness, for want of a better word. And because of that, it can be, as I mentioned before, it can be harder work, because you are, even though it's incredibly valuable work, you're working on yourself. So it's not like, for example, doing, say, accounting or engineering, where you're learning facts or how to make a bridge. You're learning about yourself, and you're learning about relationships, and you're learning how to become a therapist or something else that you might want to take into the world. So it's the ticking off assignments plus the addition of your own self-growth
and inner work and experiential work with your study buddies, and chatting with your study buddies, and agreeing or disagreeing with us, and all those sorts of things. All that's welcome. Yeah. Great. Hoi Kan, did I get that right? You there?
Okay, sorry, I'm trying to get my thing on. Hi.
Yeah, hi.
So I'm currently in London right now, and I'm moving to Australia, hopefully, I don't know, March, but I think for the first intensive, I definitely wouldn't be there. And I'm just wondering how much of an impact that would have.
People have missed the first intensive. We do record it. You can catch up, but it would sometimes it might be helpful then to have an extra tutorial or something for the practical experiential part of it. What do you think, Trina?
Well, we like to say it's mandatory, but we also understand that there could be people that it just have got these special situations. So we're quite understanding there. There's also, if you're wanting to have accreditation with PACFA or registration with PACFA when you're finished, which stands for the Psychotherapy and Counselling Federation of Australia, then there's requirements to attend a certain amount of intensives in person. And so it's not like other courses that have basically all gone online. There's definitely a requirement for attending a certain number of hours face to face, and we can definitely see the value when people come face to face. So we've just finished a round of 3 lots of intensives, and a couple of weeks ago, and there was one particular student that had done the first, I think, 2 days or 1 day online. And then she decided that she would try and get accommodation for a family in the Southern Highlands. And so she came those days, and she said, oh, wow, such a different experience. So it's just the connection you can create, the safety of the container, the conversations that you can have is just, it's like nothing else. So even though you can do it online, it's always a preference.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, I definitely see the value of being there in person. But since I can't, I'm just wondering, would it be better if I just start next year versus, as in like, 2025?
It depends on your passion. I'd say if you feel really drawn, that's one of the things that's really important, that we did this exercise around contacting the deepest part of yourself. Actually, if you listen to that, people feel pulled to do this course, and also they feel pulled to at a particular time. And when you feel that, it means that it's meant to be for you, because you come into a particular cohort, and that cohort is very important. That's what we cultivate and encourage, because adult learners learn best through peer learning, talking with your peers and working with your peers, getting to know them, collaborating with them. So, yeah, I've lost my train of thought now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Christina, there's a question there from Holly. Can you explain the difference in assessments for the grad dip versus the masters? Maybe Katrina could explain that.
Yeah. Would you like to do that, Katrina?
Holly, the content is clearly different, but it's that in terms of word count or length of video or audio, there's not a huge amount of difference. So we've got different types of assessments, but it's not like the second year goes, it's twice as onerous, because because they're nested, and the graduate diploma is the first year of the masters. Yeah.
We have 2 research units in the master's year, but I agree with Trini. It's not much different, really.
What would stop someone then from doing the grad dip and then going into doing the masters?
Nothing. If you do the grad dip and then you can go on to the masters, no problem. Am I missing your question, Holly?
That's right. No.
Got it? Oh, good. Okay. I see Chris is here. Chris has joined us. Hi, Chris. Lovely to see you.
Hi, Christina. Nice to be here.
Hi. Chris, when did you do your course?
2018, 2019. Yeah, pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. And you flew all the way from Bali for each intensive.
I did, yeah. 6 times.
6 times.
Yeah.
How was it for you?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was a incredible experience in a lot of ways. But yeah, I would fly as far as the actual journey when I would fly, I'd take the night flight and then have a day in Sydney and then go out to Southern Highlands from there and have the week-long intensives and then go back. This was sort of, because it was pre-COVID, it wasn't such a Zoom world as well. So it was a little different, but each of the intensives and actually being there and something, Katrina, you were just pointing to of the people that we were with, you know, the cohort they were with, that was one of the most magical things of the connections that we all made to each other and the journey that we all went on together, which was not just learning, but a real soul journey. It was really powerful.
And what are you doing now?
Well, I'm still living in Bali and I'm doing my own private practice. Before doing Metavision's course, I was working at a yoga studio in Ubud, Bali, where I was doing craniosacral therapy and astrology, like psychological astrology, those two things. And the reason I really wanted to go to Metavision was to have something that would be sort of in between the two, like a thread that would pull it all together in a way. And really, as soon as I graduated, a couple of confluences happened where, you know, COVID happened and everything shut down and the yoga studio shut down. And so I graduated and I was like forced out onto my own immediately at that moment. So I graduated and immediately went into my own private practice, and which has been great, really. And I have found that the process work has been the glue that's holds everything else together and then adds its whole other thing as well. So it's been expansive for me. It grounded everything into all the things that I had been learning. It sort of gathered those together and gave it a bigger context. And then yeah, I've been able to do really the three things, but I would say the process-oriented psychotherapy, the things that we learn in Metavision, is at the heart of what I do now, with these two wings in a way of astrology and craniosacral therapy that are part of what I offer now.
A lot of people come with things already, because most of the students that come to us are like you here, who are here, mature age learners with already a lot of your own experience and other things that you've learned. And what Metavision, what this course does is give you a good foundation and an umbrella under which you can put other things. It also gives a clear structure that allows you to go deeply with people and situations, whatever it is, because it teaches you how to read the signals of what's wanting to emerge and unfold. And that can be applied to working in counseling and psychotherapy. It can be applied in facilitation of a group. It can be applied in running groups. It can be applied in classrooms. It can be applied in so many places, and people take it into many different places. It really is interesting where graduates go. Thank you. Chris has sent us a few PEEP students along as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's been there's a question here from Barbara. Will this be recorded? Yes, it will. Oh yeah, sorry, it's already been answered.
Sorry, we're on top of all the questions. We've answered any.
I should have known, Kate. You're on top of it all. It's wonderful having.
Did anyone have any questions for Chris? Maybe.
Good.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Chris.
No, it's fine. That's why I'm here. Yeah.
No.
I have one that I couldn't find the hand again.
Just call out. Just speak up.
Yeah, I just did. I just will. Chris, I just wanted to know about the research part of, you know, we have 2 units, I think, of research in the master's.
Yeah, which was the same as your one here,
whether,
by the way, I'm telling you.
It's the same? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we just put it 2 units.
Yeah, just wondering what you did it on and whether it was very academic or whether you could apply it pragmatically to your area of interest.
Yeah, well, thanks for that question, Pascal. I think for me, that was one of the biggest opportunities. We did that in the second year, and there was one research. It was a research proposal And it was just a chance to go really deep into my thinking on a particular topic. And for me, because I'm really interested in this kind of arena of oracle work, like as sort of the ancient tradition of the oracle. I did my research on, the place of oracle in society at large. And so I was doing research around that function ultimately of the human psyche and human consciousness, and whether that comes through. I mean, I went sort of historical with it, and I looked at sort of the ancient Greek world and the Pythia or the Oracle of Delphi, and these things that have always been there in culture. So I was looking kind of historical, and then having a feel into how that still is in operation in our modern world, even if it's not necessarily called oracle. So I was working with that concept and that idea, and then I was just running with it, which kind of says to, in a way, like really following the thing that you're really interested in and passionate about or curious about, and then just taking that. But I got a lot of feedback from I forget her name now. What's her name?
Claire. Was it
Claire? Yeah, Claire. She was really great, very academic and rigorous in her approach to things. So she was able to give a lot of feedback and sort of steer me in the right direction. And, I really enjoyed that component of it, whether it was sort of like academic in some ways, but also able to tap into my own feelings on the matter and follow my own threads as well. So although it was an academic process, it still allowed me to go into the sort of soul inquiry that was there too. And that's what I really enjoyed, that there was a straddling of both sides in a way.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what we try to do, really. And
yeah.
Approach used often is more a phenomenological approach, which fits our whole way of working. There's a question here, it's come up a couple of times. Will the Masters be going ahead? Somebody was wanting to enroll at the beginning of this year, and we couldn't enroll you in the Masters because we weren't sure we were going ahead. I must say, Metavision's become more well established now, and it feels like certainly it's going ahead. And someone said, will it be going ahead in 2025? Well, all things being equal, I imagine so, but we would never have known that COVID was going to happen. But I think we're on a roll now. Yes. It takes a while. We've only been accredited since 2021 with higher education, and we started in the middle of the year, but we're not doing a mid-year intake at the moment because it's too difficult, it's complicated. And it's really important that students come in together as a cohort, because you work so much together, and that you follow the course, because it is, as Chris said, and everybody else experiences, it's a journey that you go on and go through, and it builds one unit on the other. So it's not like something you can just go jumping here and there with. And we've tried to make that work in making it a part-time option as well. Hope that answers those questions. And Hoi Kian, you've got your hand up again.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, obviously with Chris, you seem to have a lot of background in that kind of spirituality type of stuff. Is that sort of a requirement? Because I don't feel that spiritual.
No, not a requirement. No, and I don't necessarily think that the path for me is necessarily spiritual in that sense, but I suppose it could be seen that way. But no, there's no requirement either way. It's just things that for me, those are things that I'm fascinated in. Those sort of threads of reality is something I'm fascinated in. So when I looked for something, I was looking for something that would be open at the very least to those things. I didn't need to go and study those things because that's what I had already studied. So it's sort of like a bridge for me between that world and how to put things into practice, and how to sit with people, how to work with people on a very day-to-day grounded level. And in some ways this course helped me to bridge all of those things and come down to the everyday experience, which was what I was really looking for. Yeah, but certainly not. I mean, Christina will say, as I'm sure, that there's no requirement for any of those things. It's just this is where my consciousness is at.
And it's an interesting question. What is spiritual? What is spirituality? You know,
I'm not sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
it was interesting listening to somebody the other day who said it's when you feel you're pulled by something. I mean, we've just done an exercise on presence, so that and also I think of spiritual is finding meaning and purpose in things, thinking about things, and developing your own consciousness. To me, I mean, they're interesting words. They're words to find, and what we do is not bring a dogmatic way of being, but rather very much encourage you to find your own unique way, your presence, your way of being, and to question and, you know, find what's right for you. Really important.
Okay, thank you.
Cast has a question for Chris as well.
Hey, thank you. This is it's the sort of question I feel like I know no one else can really answer. I sort of want to ask it. I'm really curious. It's basically, after like a lifetime of dysfunction and 5 years of like very steady process-orientated framework, as well as kind of animism sort of practices, I'm finally getting to like a point where I'm really excited about stepping up into like a therapist role, continuing to explore myself and giving sessions. And I get so excited by all the different opportunities, and it sparks such an anxiety in me that I just don't know what is right for me. I'm curious how you knew this was the thing for you. What was that experience like? If that's, yeah, I'm aware like it's not really a question anyone else can answer, but I'm still hoping to get a glimmer. Thanks.
Yeah, are you referring to the experience of stepping into that role?
I guess like looking at the wide world of wonderful opportunities and the limited time we have as humans, how did you know that Metavision was the right call? You seem very like satisfied in your experience. I'm wondering if there's any thread you could share that you followed to get here.
Yeah, I was really nervous about stepping into that role too, which is what I'm kind of hearing, of like the excitement and the nerves and the tension and the, I don't know, I quite enjoy my own feeling of imposter syndrome these days, and you know, really dropping into that, which I think about this word imposter, like imposing oneself onto a situation, you know, like or posing in some ways. It's a very curious thing. But for me, there were so many points along the way. I actually went to Metavision first in 2013, and I did the 6-month bridging course because my original degree is in what's it in? Marketing and economics. I can almost forget sometimes that it's way back there. Because that wasn't really in this world, I did a bridging course, and of course the other things that I study, like craniosacral and astrology, they're not necessarily, you know, and animism and Greek mythology and all these other kinds of things, they don't necessarily translate into like a bridge. So I did the 6-month bridging course. I found that to be really profound, actually, and I got so much out of that. But then I left it another 5 years before I had actually stepped in. So there was really, for me, a slow process of choosing. And in the end, I felt like the course of the one that was in 2018, 2019, there was a real call to be in that one. And I can see why now, looking back, because of the people that were there, the people that I met that are dear friends now, they're all also going off on their journeys, and being able to share with them and follow them, and us follow each other, and we still catch up from time to time. And so there's this beauty of all of that. But it's kind of one of those things, you know, I feel like I partially chose the course, and it partially was just chosen at the time. It all just aligned in a pretty beautiful way. And once I was there at that first intensive and looking around and feeling the sort of people around me, there was that sense of, okay, this is right. This is good.
And that pull, that call, I think is the essential cue.
Yeah.
You can get it. Yeah, you can feel it. Moni, I
Thank you
want
very much.
Yeah, no problem, Cast. Thanks for the question. I'm
Moni,
not sure how I went with
yeah.
answering, but yeah.
Hi, I just read the message. Thanks for coming. Any other question, please reach out. Does it mean we are closing the session now, or is it?
No. You've had your
Okay.
hand up.
So I'm doing a lot of prac work with my friends and free work because I just finished the pre-course, right? And I've been doing lots of practice work, and there's been things coming up that are really pressing for me. And it's my own experience with deep spirituality and deep inner work, which is focusing within, and people coming to me with an external question. Please fix me now. Please give me the answer. Please give me the solution. Please do it for me. And I can't find to help the answer. It just frustrates me so much because I think everyone has the answer within themselves.
Absolutely.
And as a counselor, I struggle so much. I don't know how to get a person to focus within and stop attacking me to get an answer out of me as a counselor.
Yeah. That's what you learn. Come to Metavision, you'll learn how. Because we don't have the answers. We facilitate, we walk with people to find their own. It's very important.
Yep.
And in fact, I had a group supervision today. One of the graduates, for the graduates, and one of them was saying, talking about how people come and want to get an answer, and how can you work with that in effective way. So we practiced it today. It's a good question.
No worries. Thank you.
Sarah had a question. Sarah gone? It's 7:30.
Yes, I did. Sorry, I was just writing it out because I have to jump and look.
Go quick, Sarah. I'm glad I caught you.
Chris, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. I just wanted to ask, you mentioned that you were kind of thrust into private practice with COVID, and I'm wondering, with I think Beck was saying 40 hours are face-to-face in terms of the placement. How confident did you feel going straight into that with those hours? How did you feel about that experience? Did you feel like you wanted more mentoring or supervision? Or I'd just love to hear what that was like for you.
Yeah, well, for me, I found that with the practice sessions, I was really nervous, and I was kind of like wondering how this is going to go, and had the nerves coming in and all of these kinds of things. But I guess the thing for me is that I was seeing people from the craniosacral and the astrology world. So I was used to people coming and sort of the foundational things that would happen within session, the enter, the go into a process, do something, come back out. Those things had been a part of my life for about 4 years before that. So that did give me a bit of a advantage, I would say, as far as that transition went. But in the end, I think that the 40 sessions was about right, was about the right amount of sessions where, I got to sort of do enough, and then it was time to kind of like try it out, right? To sort of be in the context. And I don't think anything but experience really prepares you in a way. So you can't have the experience without doing it. So I think, in the end, I was really happy that I'd lost the safety net of that yoga studio and the healing center I was working in. I just lost that safety net just really at the ideal time in a way, because then I just had to see if it would work, see if people would come, and they did, and they do. And at this point, where are we at? Like 4 years later or something, coming up to 4 years later, it just feels like it's just a nice cloak or a nice warm jacket that I put on and go into that room, like it feels like a very comfortable place now. Even though it was like there was some shakiness at the beginning, it's definitely a transition. And as Cass had said, like there's a tension point. I think there's a tension point of professing to know something, even though that's technically not what we're ultimately doing. But there is a sense of like, I have this piece of paper now. I'm PACFA registered now. I'm saying that I can do something, and then there's the nerves of like, well, can I? I don't know, you know, can I? But then you get into the space and something happens. It just happens again and again. You get in there and something emerges. You follow the thing that's emerging. It's really, that's the simplicity of the thing that we learn, is just like follow the thing that's emerging and you'll be fine. Ultimately.
And also we come with a curious, not knowing attitude, which helps.
Yeah.
Because we're open and we're alert and watching the signals and reading the feedback, and it does just unfold.
Great. Thanks so much for that.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for the question, Sarah.
One more question, if I can just jump in.
Hmm.
So one of the reasons I'm so interested in this is because, yeah, after all my years of process-related therapy, I feel like I watch friends and something's trying to come up and they've just got patterns in the way, and I have a deep desire, which is my own pattern, to kind of just help my friends out, or maybe be able to facilitate, because a lot of my life is community-based, facilitate group processes in the community with people I have like strong social connections with. And I guess I'm curious, from your own experiences on the perspective of process-oriented psychology, is it possible to therapize your friends in this way, or is it important to have a less involved relationship?
It requires awareness, and if you have awareness of your boundaries, your way of working, also the skills you learn here also help you to facilitate all sorts of things, because it's the same process, it's the same way of working. So whether they're your friends or not doesn't, I mean, we do encourage you not to work with friends first off, because actually it's harder, because you know them and you make assumptions. But when you work with somebody that you don't know, you're curious and you're drawing them out and it's fresh. So, it works both ways. But certainly doing community work, I started, where the word Metavision came from was when I was asked if I would do group supervision for junior doctors at the palliative care unit at St Vincent's Hospital. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'd love to. But how am I going to do that? I'm used to working one-on-one. And what I did was think, well, it's exactly the same. So I applied what I'd learned through my process-oriented studies to the group. And I realized I'm not doing supervision, I'm doing metavision. That's where the term came from. And it was more community-based in a certain way. So that's why I share that one.
Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts or comments or anything? Questions not answered?
I wouldn't mind just like jumping in on Cass's question as well, because it's actually a really important part of the process for me, because what I found is before I did the study at Metavision and before I became a therapist, it would just sort of, because it's in my soul to do it, it would just happen around me, so that then I would become that for a lot of friends and a lot of family members and things. And then once I was actually in the role, that really diminished. It was almost like it was like I found a place for that energy, because actually what I found is that was really draining for me, because it was a boundlessness to that was just too much. So then for me personally, that sort of tapered off in a way, and in a really good, healthy way. Like I can still do that with friends from time to time, but what I found is that sort of the need to express that outside of the container diminished, which for me has like really changed my life.
That's fascinating. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
That's a great
it's changed
answer.
my life. Yeah.
Great answer. Yeah.
Hi, I just had a question about the foundation course. I noticed
we didn't talk about
yeah, just the dates. I noticed it finishes after the I guess term one would start.
Yeah.
Like it finished, but I assume that's okay.
That's fine. There's not a very heavy workload. And the experiential part of it is a great thing to have done before you come into the 2 days, is a great way to come into the intensive, because we don't teach basic counselling skills in the intensive. We jump straight into our process-oriented and Metavision approach, and you start working with your fellow study buddies or your fellow, colleagues in the class. So you need to have some of those skills. So it's very helpful to have the foundational counselling skills course first. And there's two ways of doing that. One is the bridging course, which is a 7-week course now, but with a 2-day, sort of intensive with the experiential part to it. And there's also a 6-month course, and it's also becoming a year-long course, because the accrediting bodies are saying you need to have more basic counselling skills. We consider that we're developing the counselling skills all the way along, but to do the bridging course or the foundational course is a very valuable thing. If you haven't got counselling, particularly, it's a requirement. You need to do the bridging course for us. Yeah. Requirement for us, I mean.
Got it.
Sorry, just to clarify for Jess, yes, it does end after the other courses start, but that's fine. Once you're in, you're in. We understand that you're doing it.
Yeah.
So you can still
sure.
enroll for the bigger course. Yeah. I get this question every day.
Yeah.
You'll be able to do these questions and answers all by yourself soon, Kate, won't you? It's great. Wonderful. Maybe we've run out of questions and things. Anything else before we close off? It's lovely to see you all, really.
Christina, I just wanted to mention that we do have an early bird offer. So if you do enroll before tomorrow, you get the early bird rates, but we are going to extend that for an extra week to those on the call, because we know we haven't really given you much notice. We've given you, well, we have, but you might have had all these questions and you've been waiting for this talk. So we're going to extend it for another week. So if anyone was looking for that early bird offer, just please email me at the admin email address, and I can extend that for you. Okay.
Kate, to be enrolled, do they have to be fully enrolled? What, they can't be fully enrolled to get that. They just have to be putting in an application?
They're supposed to pay the deposit, but if you can put in the application in the next week, then we'll give you the early bird offer.
Great.
Okay.
And there's a question here, the recording will be available, yes?
Yes, it'll be up on the website. I want to say Friday, but don't look till Monday. Let's be realistic.
have a little quick peek on Friday.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. All right. Well, have a lovely evening. The rest of it. And thanks, Chris, for coming in. It's lovely to have you here. And everybody else, great to see you, and to everyone who's contributed, thank you.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.